Hello and welcome to Worldview, a program designed to bring you up to speed with trending developments the world over. My name is Francis Oyima Edet, reaching you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. And on our top stories today, Spain Pedro Sanchez wins new term as Prime Minister after amnesty deal. Finland Prime Minister Petteri Orpo announces plans to close some crossing points on Russia border. Italy bans lab-grown meat in North to farmers. We'll bring you details of these and more in a moment. Many thanks for joining us. We begin the Worldview today with a socialist leader, Pedro Sanchez, who has clinched a vote in Parliament to lead Spain for another term as Prime Minister. He has secured a 4-seat majority in the 350-seat chamber after sealing an amnesty deal for Catalans. The Conservative Popular Party won elections in July, but leader Alberto Núñez Feudo failed to form a majority. Meanwhile, Sanchez told Member of Parliament that the amnesty deal would help heal wounds. His reliance on two Catalan pro-independence parties to form a majority has infuriated opponents who argued his proposed amnesty deal for hundreds of politicians and activists will trigger another bid for secession and threaten Spain's territorial unity. In another development, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condemned the killings of civilians in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war while delivering his opening remarks at a virtual inaugural session of the Second Voice of Global South Summit today. Modi also reiterated his government's condemnation of Hamas' October 7 attack on Israel and called for exercising restraint while laying emphasis on dialogue and diplomacy. The Prime Minister said India has sent humanitarian aid to the people of Palestine after speaking to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. He urged the countries of the Global South to unite for the greater global good. Away from that, Finland's Prime Minister Petteri Orpo has announced that his country will close some crossings on the border with Russia. Petteri Orpo said 4 crossing points in the south would close today, while 2 in the north would stay open for asylum applications. Reports say Finland has seen a surge in illegal crossings from Russia in recent days, mostly of that country's citizens. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister says the Valima, Mujama, Niralan and Imatra border crossings would close. These points in the far southeast of the country have seen a surge in illegal crossing by citizens of countries including Syria, Yemen and Iraq. Away from that, a whistleblower who helped expose allegations of Australian war crimes in Afghanistan, David McBride, has pleaded guilty to leaking classified information. McBride was due to face trial next week but changed his plea after a legal ruling scuppered his defense. The whistleblower, a former military lawyer, said he felt a moral duty to speak up after his internal complaints were ignored. He pleaded guilty to 3 charges of stealing and unlawfully sharing secret military information. Meanwhile, 11 children have been killed in Myanmar's Chin state after a military jet bombed a school. According to villagers, the strike on the remote village of Yalu in the mountainous region happened on Wednesday. Reports say that Myanmar is currently in the grip of a civil war with numerous armed groups fighting the military junta which deposed an elected government in 2021. Chin State is a stronghold of resistance against the junta. This week, its grassroots insurgency saw ethnic Chin fighters recapture the town of Rihada on the border with India. Meanwhile, Italians have faced disruption today as transport workers and other public sector employees from two of the country's largest unions have gone on strike in protest over the government's budget plans for 2024. Reports say the CGIL and URL unions have called a general strike in the central regions of Italy, as well as a walkout by public sector employees across the country, and are planning further regional protests in the next 2 weeks. Meanwhile, in a sign of tensions between the unions and the government, Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini used his powers to have the duration of the national stoppage by transport workers to 4 hours from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. to limit its impact, and air travels are not included in the strike plans. Elsewhere, Italian Member of Parliament have voted to back a law banning the production, sale or import of cultivated meat or animal feed in what the right-wing government calls a defense of Italian tradition. According to reports, Italy is the world's first country safe from the social and economic risks of synthetic food, said Agriculture Minister Francisco Lollobrigida. The vote in Parliament was met by rallies for and against the ban. The head of the big Condiet farmers organization, Ettore Prandini, at one point confronted 2 members of parliament from the opposition More Europe party, calling them criminals for opposing the ban on lab-grown meat, with placards that condemned it as anti-scientific and anti-Italian. Elsewhere, tensions remain high today in occupied East Jerusalem, a day after 3 Palestinian assailants opened fire at a checkpoint on a road between Jerusalem and the West Bank city of Bethlehem, killing an Israeli soldier before the attackers were shot dead. Meanwhile, Islamist militant group Hamas claimed responsibility for the attack. Away from that, Zimbabwe has declared a state of emergency in the capital Harare over a cholera outbreak. The outbreak has so far killed dozens of people, with more than 7,000 suspected cases. The city authorities say the outbreak, spreading throughout the city, has invoked memories of a deadly outbreak in 2008 in which thousands died. The authorities are now asking for help to contain the spread and provide safe water, saying the aid being received is inadequate. In the meantime, vote counting is underway in Madagascar after the first round of voting in the country's highly contested presidential elections. Reports say 10 out of 12 opposition candidates called for citizens to boycott the vote, saying the conditions for a fair election had not been met. According to the opposition's participation rate was at 20%, the lowest in the country's history. We move over to Kenya, where President William Ruto has been called the world's 100 most influential leaders shaping global climate action. The listing comes in the week he led a national holiday aimed at planting 100 million trees in a single day. Ruto was named alongside the mayor of Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown, Yuvne Aki Saya, Burkina German architect Francis Kere, and Ethiopian climate entrepreneur Kidus Asfar. The ranking, known as Time 100 Climate, was released and is the magazine's inaugural attempt to name those it sees as significant in highlighting and doing something about the issue of climate change across the globe. In a separate development, banks and other financiers should withdraw their support of Total Energy $20 billion liquefied natural gas LNG terminal in Mozambique, environmental lobby groups urged in a letter sent to more than 24 project funders today. The letter, seen by newsmen, comes at a crucial juncture for the French energy company as it prepares to relaunch Africa's largest foreign direct investment project. Meanwhile, activists warn the project may worsen climate change and fuel human rights abuses in the impoverished Southern African nation. Recall that last month, lawmakers in the Netherlands said they would insist on being consulted on safety and human rights concerns before they can approve a €1 billion loan guarantee for the project, stalled since April 2021. After the break, a French senator was in custody today on suspicion of drugging a member of parliament with a view to assaulting her. Stay tuned.
For brilliant broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news from the world, watch Spectrum TV on StarTimes DTH channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website SpectrumTVLive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters counsel is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Many thanks for staying with us. Still in Worldview, the UN Security Council adopted a resolution calling for urgent humanitarian pauses in the Israel-Hamas war after 4 previous failures. The vote came after the health ministry in Hamas-run Gaza denied Israeli claims that its troops had found weapons, combat gear, and technological equipment in the Al-Shifa hospital. In a related development, Israeli troops carried out building-by-building searches at Gaza's main hospital as a new communications blackout in the territory today compounded fears for Palestinian civilians trapped inside the facility. Reports say that Al-Shifa Hospital has become a focal point for Israeli operations in northern Gaza since soldiers raided the complex, hunting for a command center the same militant group Hamas operates there. According to Israeli officials, Israel has vowed to eradicate Hamas in response to the group's October 7 attack, which killed 1,200 people, most of them civilians, and saw about 240 taken hostage. Israel authorities have defended their operation, and the military said it found rifles, ammunition, explosives, and the entrance to a tunnel shaft at Al-Shifa. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu alleged hostages may even have been held at the medical facility. Still on the war, German leaders host Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for talks today in a highly controversial visit made more explosive by the Erdogan's branding of Israel as a terror state. Erdogan has been increasingly critical of Israel's war against Gaza, ruler's hammer, and triggered after the Islamist government's deadly attack on October 7. Israel said killed around 1,200 people, mostly civilians, while Chancellor Olaf Scholz traveled to Israel to offer Germany's unconditional and unwavering support after the Hamas attack. While the Turkish leader has accused Israel of committing war crimes with its bombardment and ground incursion in Gaza, where the death toll has mounted past 11,000, according to Hamas-run held authorities in the territory. Meanwhile, a French senator was in custody today on suspicion of drugging a member of parliament with a view to assaulting her. Prosecutors and sources familiar with the case told newsmen. Joël Garriou, a country senator from Western France, was being held for administering to a person without their knowledge a substance likely to diminish their judgment or self-control to commit a rape or sexual assault. While the prosecutors named the victim only as a woman who filed a complaint, several sources familiar with the case told reporters she was a member of parliament. She allegedly felt strange after accepting a drink on Tuesday night at the 66-year-old senator's Paris home. Prosecutors said the two were not in an intimate relationship. Meanwhile, tests revealed that she had ecstasy in her system. Investigations added, prompting her to file a criminal complaint. According to prosecutors, Jabru was arrested and held in custody on the court-in-the-act ruling, allowing police to override his parliamentary immunity. Elsewhere, the European Union has accused Russia of making a shameful use of migrants to put pressure on other countries, saying it had noted an increased number of undocumented asylum seekers crossing Russia's border to Finland. Meanwhile, Helsinki announced Thursday that it will close 4 of its 8 border crossings with Russia from this weekend because of the increased flow of asylum seekers. Away from that, a Russian court has sentenced artist Alexandra Kolenko to 7 years in prison for spreading false information about the army after she swapped supermarket price tag with slogans criticizing Russia's offensive in Ukraine. A 33-year-old known as Sasha is the latest among thousands of Russians to be detained, jailed, or fined for speaking out against Moscow's military intervention. According to reports, supporters shouted "Shame" and "We are with you, Sasha," after the judge, Oksana Demikshiva, read out the verdict. Meanwhile, some mainly young people pulled out banners saying she should not go to prison, while her lawyers left without giving any comment. In a separate development, residents today said about 250 Rohingya refugees crammed onto a wooden boat have been turned away from western Indonesia and sent back to sea. Reports say the group from the persecuted Myanmar minority arrived off the coast of Aceh province on Thursday, but locals told them not to land. Some refugees swam ashore and collapsed on the beach before being pushed back onto their overcrowded boat after it was prevented from landing. This crippled boat traveled dozens of kilometers farther east to North Sea, but locals again sent them back to sea late Thursday. Reports say by today the vessel, which some on board said had sailed from Bangladesh about 3 weeks ago, was no longer visible from where it had landed in North Sea. Meanwhile, thousands from the mostly Muslim Rohingya minority risk their lives each year on long and treacherous sea journeys, often in flimsy boats, to try to reach Malaysia or Indonesia. Lastly, on Worldview today, an independent Scotland would move quickly to rejoin the European Union. The Scottish government said today as it laid out its plans for getting back into the bloc. The administration, led by the Scottish National Party SNP, said that Scotland would apply to rejoin the EU as soon as possible after independence, although that is not currently on the horizon. The pro-independence government of the devolved parliament in Edinburgh made the comment in a paper that sought to lay out the benefits of EU membership. Meanwhile, none of Britain's other main parties, the Conservatives, Labour and the Liberal Democrats, currently argues that the United Kingdom should rejoin the EU. And with that, we wrap up our package for you on Worldview today. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTVLive.ng. I am Francis Oyima Edet, reaching you live from Yo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. And you have been watching Worldview on Spectrum TV. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.